Let's start.
I need color.
What I'm doing right now is in the morning, after I've been doing dialysis all night, I have to go through the draining process so that the liquid's out of my system for the day. And then it gets to the end like this. It starts to suck on the inside wall of my cavity and hurt. That's where we're at right now. But I kind of have to fight through that pain a little bit sometimes to get a better, what's called an ultrafill. Thankfully, I only have to deal with it usually at the beginning and at the end. When it gets to the end, I have to press this in, and it sends this blue pin into my catheter tube. Tighten the clamps. Sanitize my hands. And then I get ready to unhook. Still recording. And I'm unhooking, so give me a sec, sweetheart.
Okay.
I'm on several different meds right now. 2 blood pressure medications, a renal vitamin that smells like somebody pooped it out. Not even kidding, I gag on it about every day. I got these tiny little orange footballs called calcitriol. They're not bad. And then, ever since I got my catheter put in, I've had issues with staying regular. So unfortunately, I've got to take Colace every day so that I don't have bowel pains. So that's fun, but it is what it is. Tums because my calcium sucks.
Now, it's not that dialysis has been hard for me. I don't want to paint that picture of. I've had it really. I'm really grateful because I know people that have had it a lot worse than I have. And what I have to attribute to that is I've kept myself healthy. Um, some of you that know me from when I was growing up know that my dad was a kidney disease patient and got a kidney transplant. And I watched my dad go through dialysis, and he didn't have the best time with it. It wasn't easy for him. Whereas mine, because I, for the most part, eat the right foods and keep myself healthy through workouts, and it's been a pretty good thing. Because before last year, I was on a vegan renal diet for a whole year and a half. No meat, certain vegetables, certain fruits. I'm doing like a Jimmy Neutron thing. And I lost a lot of weight and a lot of muscle mass and felt weak. But I was trying to stay away from dialysis as long as I possibly could. But in December, when I got the surgery, put the catheter in, and started dialysis in January, dialysis has been a great thing for me. Now, I don't want to stay on it, and I'm looking forward to when we can get a transplant. But my energy levels are back. I put on a little bit more of my muscle back, and I'm still staying at a healthy weight. And thanks to my team of nurses and my doctor at Next Stage Kidney Care, they've been keeping me really healthy. I've been really grateful. Now, my wife isn't here right now. She will be later, and we'll get some of her input too, but I wouldn't be able to do any of this without Gret. She's my angel. And later on, I'll show you the whole process that I go through for dialysis. But, you know, I tell people quite a few times that dialysis and kidney disease and whatever you might be going through, it's rough at times. But if you can get to a place of thinking positively, it makes all the difference. And I'm a firm believer in manifestation, that if you do good and think good, good comes to you. And so far, I've been very blessed in my life. And I attribute that to being good and sharing good with everybody that I get to interact with. And so obstacles become adventure. Adventure adds to the story. And if you're having adventure, it means you're alive. And that means that anything is still possible.
Alright, so with it being nighttime, now I gotta set up the cycler for my nighttime dialysis. So, start off with bleach wipes. Now, with the bleach wipes, I gotta wring it out because if it's too wet, it gets inside of the cycler system and can ruin it. So, I wring it out and I wipe it down really good.
And I mainly stick to the areas that I'm really going to have contact with, and areas that are going to be important places where I'm doing hookups and different things. And then I turn it on and start to let it do its thing. Now, after this, okay, I got to wash my hands. All right. Now that I've washed my hands and have the cycler going, doing its thing, I get what's called the cassette ready. And so this is what the cassette looks like, and it's going to help me filter everything through the system. Now, you're lucky because there's only 2 people in this world that have seen me doing this, myself and my wife. And that is, I have a little dance that I do with my dialysis that I will gladly share once it starts doing its thing. Because anytime now you'll hear it start to pull, you're just gotta have fun with it. Dialysis might be a pain at times, but I try to keep a positive mindset with it, because what good's it gonna do for me to get mad at it? It's keeping me alive, right? And then it will tell me when it's ready of when to put this cassette in. And when I put it in, I've got to be careful not to touch the membranes on the back. It's a nice cushy membrane, right? So it's going to pop up any second now for me to insert the cassette. And then if I had a connection system, I could add it so I could have multiple on and off connections, but I don't need that tonight. So I open the cassette. Make sure I put it in carefully, pop it into place, close the door, voila. Then I start going through the process of undoing the tubes, connect the connector that I'll be hooking up with later into my set. Now, got a cap here that I'll also put on, and this cap is when I go the hook to come off of it in the morning. This is the cap that goes on the end of my tube. So I have that there already set in place, ready to go, and I can put the paper on the floor. But next thing is my bags. Now, for my prescription, I go through about 8,000 liters. So I got a 3-liter bag, or 8,000 milliliters. And then we call this the thick boy. This is a 6,000 liter bag that I'll also go through tonight. So now what it's telling me to do is I need to hook up my heat lines, because what it's set on top of heats up the bags. And so I'll come down here, still with clean hands. If at any time I feel like my hands have touched something that's not clean, I need to wash them again. So I'd be careful. I'd start taking the tubes out. I unhook carefully without touching the ends, and I make my connections. And then throw it on the ground. And then there's an extra white one that will go in this smaller bag, the 3,000 liter, because this one will actually hang off the side, and then when this one starts to get less fluid in it, this one refills the bag to go in me. It's a really cool process, actually. And then last but not least is my drain tube. Now, there's different ways that people do it, but this end with the yellow will actually go underneath of the toilet seat and drain right to the toilet. If for some reason I had to set my cycler up on the other side of the room and it didn't reach the toilet, then there's adapters that I can connect on the end of this to make it longer to be able to reach. But thankfully, don't have to do that. So I'll straighten this out and I will hook it up to the toilet. So after I put the line in the toilet, I wash my hands again because you're touching a toilet. You're touching a surface that your ass goes to. So you have to make sure you're clean, right? So now it's going to ask me to break the cones because in these red sections of the bag are cones that allow things to filter in and out. So we're going to break the cones, making sure that the clamps are open in the lines. And you can see where after I break the cone, there's fluid going through the line. I clamp on the rest of the stuff that I'm not using. And I press next. So I'm going to hang this on the side like I was talking about. And then I'm going to turn this top one because right here on the end of the cycler is the heater for the bag. And it's going to heat the solution up to go into my body. Because if it doesn't heat up the solution and it goes in cold, it's going to cause me to cramp and be really painful going in. And so heating up the solution, which is a dextrose, like sugar solution, that helps filter the process. And I've put in my body before manually cold, and it's no fun. It hurts like hell. So I will gladly wait for this puppy to get heated up. So there's going to be a few more prompts that it'll take me through, and then I'll be ready to hook up. But for right now, me and the wife are going to go run some errands while this heats up, and I'll leave it alone to do so. That way later on, I can hook up to this. But what we'll do is I'll clean my exit site first and show you what happens with that every day. And then we'll hook up and we'll finish out. So with this, okay, and I just got done washing, sanitizing my hands, but I'm going to be taking all this off so that I can clean everything up. So undo it, and a lot of people don't like taking the tape off. I kind of find it exhilarating. Just because, like, if you couldn't tell, I have the stomach of a hobbit, so the tape likes to pull throughout the day. Now, as I do the last part, I go ahead and this piece of tape over here is called my anchor tape. And so when I'm pulling the tape off, I make sure that I don't pull it because that's what's keeping my tube on a regular basis from just pulling out of my stomach. And I don't need that because then I've got to go through surgery again and it's no fun. I take this off, making sure it doesn't get caught. And it just looks like a tube coming out now that I'm healed up, right? This incision site that was down here is they went in through here and here to get the tube where it needed to be in that peritoneal cavity. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of let it air out for a minute. And I've got a set of gauze pads here that I'm going to use some of my cleaning solution in order to have some sanitation and cleaning the site. Now I usually do this through the shower also with antibacterial soap, but I wanted to show you what the everyday clean looks like because I think that I would get banned from YouTube by doing a shower video. I wouldn't do that anyway. This other thing I'm grabbing is my gentamicin cream that helps protect the exit site after I clean it. And so I put like a pea-sized amount on there that's going to go into my exit site.
So once that's out of there, I take one of my first ones and I ream it out a little bit because I don't want it overly wet. And then I'm going to just start at the base of the exit site, and I'm going to go around and wipe middle to outside. Once I do that, I'm not going to go back. This is going to be done. Put it off to the side. Grab the second one, ream it out. I maybe get a little bit left. And now for this one, I'm going to actually go a little bit more into that site and really make sure it's clean. And then again, end to out. And then when I get done, I'll wipe where my tape was on the tube. So, because I don't want residue to build up there. It's just going to ask for bacteria and everything else. So I'll clean the entire tube. And then I will let this air out before I add the other part. All right. So now that we've dried up, okay, I'm going to take that dollop of gentamicin cream and I'm going to carefully put it into that exit site. Use the gauze to smear it around. And then I'll put that gauze, it's a split gauze, right over top. And then from here, I'll tape it down. And then I can hook up for the night onto the cycler. And I'll be good for the next day. So, see you in a minute. So, like I was talking about this morning, when I get onto the cycler at night, the first part of it does that process of trying to drain me first. So it has that little bit of like sucking against the wall of my peritoneal cavity that can hurt a little bit. But then when I bypass it, it starts to fill me up with fluid, which is what it's doing right now. And after it gets done with the first fill, I can have a breadth of like 2 to 5 hours that I can hold that solution in my stomach. And the longer that I hold that dextrose solution in my stomach, the better it filters out the toxins from my body and gives my kidneys a break. A much needed break because my kidneys suck. And then once I get hooked back on, which tonight, since I'm doing this at like 10 o'clock, I'll be on for about 90 minutes and then I'll switch it over and it's a 10-hour cycle. So if I'm getting on at say 10 p.m. from my cycle throughout the night, I will have that go from 10 until 8 in the morning the next day. And if I do this beginning cycle and I forget to say I hook up but I forget to press a button to where it doesn't do that cycle for the 10 hours, I'll wake up the next morning and I will not have done anything, which is super frustrating. I've done that twice. Don't recommend it. But again, for the most part, I've been very lucky and very fortunate that this hasn't been as bad as it could be. I've been very lucky. Again, it's June of 2023. I started this process back in December of 2022 when I got the catheter put in. In January, I started the actual dialysis process with manual exchanges about 4 times a day, which means that I was filling up first thing in the morning, going to OSU and working my job, teaching all day with fluid in my stomach still, sloshing around, which was very uncomfortable. And then I would race home and hook up to the machine again to do a manual exchange. And then I would get on my online lecture. And I did that for an entire month. And that was a pain in the ass because, like I was saying this morning, if I was having a bad time with like being regular, it affected how I drained. So it could be a 3 to 5 hour drain because my bowels were acting up, which I mean, I don't want to stay hooked up to a machine for that long during the day. Um, but this makes it easier. This does other work for me at night while I sleep, and I was able to transition from no dialysis at all to that beautiful machine. And really, it comes down to taking care of yourself. And it's not always easy, but it's something you have to do to try to get a handle on things. And there's situations and people that I've talked to that plenty of people do take care of themselves and things still happen. But then there's also plenty of people that don't take care of themselves, which causes things to happen. And I really am grateful and fortunate that I have a lot of great people in my corner. My beautiful wife, Gretchen, my wonderful mom, my in laws, my brother in law, his wife, friends, family, and all my students. I think they have an idea because I tell them just how important that they are to me in my journey and my journey with this. But yeah, I'm I'm stronger each day for all of them, and with me doing this post at the end of the night on the eve before my birthday, turning 37 years old. A lot of the people watching this will probably have seen the post that it was one of my students, Carl, that tested, and he's going to be a donor for me. I'm getting a kidney, so I'm not going to have to deal with this for very much longer. And I'm still a little lost for words. I hope one day I find what those words are. But right now, there's nothing I can say that comes close. Except for how thankful and honored I am to have people like him in my life and in my corner. So, although it's been a short journey on dialysis, I wanted to kind of share a behind the scenes of it because too many times with any disease, a lot of people are afraid to talk about the struggles that they have to go through. And if I can put something out there that maybe inspires people to talk about what they're going through more, it might help them with all the mental struggle that goes along with all of this. Because there's a lot. And I'll talk about that on the podcast, like the mental anguish I've had to deal with going through all this. But I'm definitely trying to change the conversation. So I wish you all well. Know that I am well. I might be hooked up to a machine, but I'm still me. I'm not gonna. It might be a part of my story, but it's not going to define my story. So whatever you might be going through, don't let it define you. Instead, use it as a building block to something else, something better, something that shows the best of you. And then put your hands up, get in a stance, and fight through. Thanks for watching this episode of The Color Drop.